The first snowflake landed on the window pane like a cold, forgotten promise. I watched it melt instantly against the warm glass, a tiny, fleeting life. Inside, the world was golden. The air hummed with the rich, savory scent of roasting turkey, the sweet tang of cranberry sauce, and the buttery warmth of freshly baked rolls. Laughter, loud and uncomplicated, tumbled from the dining room, a chaotic symphony of my family, my daughter, Sarah, her husband, Mark, and their 2 teenagers, Lily and Jake, Dot and me, Eleanor, 78 years old, sitting in my worn armchair by the window, a spectator at my own life's feast. The table was a masterpiece. Sarah had outdone herself. The turkey, bronzed and magnificent, took center stage, surrounded by bowls of emerald green beans, ruby red jellied cranberries, and a mountain of fluffy, white mashed potatoes. It was a picture from a magazine, a testament to a perfect Thanksgiving. But my eyes kept drifting back to the window, to the gathering dusk and the snow that was now falling in earnest. Each flake was a pinprick of cold against my heart, because out there, somewhere in the deepening blue of the evening, was my grandson, David. And while this family was warm and fed, he was freezing. It hadn't always been this way. There was a time when David's chair, now occupied by a gleaming silver candlestick, was the noisiest, most joyful place at the table. He had his father's tousled brown hair and his mother's bright, inquisitive eyes. He was a boy who collected stray caterpillars and believed rocks could be magic. He'd sit on my lap, his small body smelling of sunshine and grass, and I'd tell him stories about the stars. That one, I'd say, pointing to a bright spot in the velvety sky, is your grandfather, keeping watch over us. He'd listen, utterly captivated, but the boy who believed in magic grew into a young man who believed in nothing. The trouble started in high school. A darkness descended, a sullenness that no amount of love could seem to penetrate. He clashed with Mark, a man of rigid schedules and firm handshakes, who saw David's dream of being a musician as a frivolous distraction from a real career. Sarah was caught in the middle, her heart torn, trying to be the bridge that was constantly being burned at both ends. The final explosion happened 2 years ago, on a night much like this, but without the snow, a screaming match about responsibility, about future, about a life half. Words were thrown like knives, useless, disappointment, waste of space, and David, his eyes, blazing with a hurt so profound it chilled me to the bone, had looked at each of us and said, "I'd rather be homeless than live in this house of judgment." He'd slammed the door so hard a picture frame fell and shattered. He'd walked out with just a backpack and his guitar case, and he'd never come back. We'd tried, at first, phone calls that went straight to voicemail, texts that remained unanswered. Sarah hired a private investigator once, who found him playing for change in a subway station. She'd gone down there, pleaded with him. He'd looked through her as if she were a ghost. "He's made his choice, Mom," Mark would say, his voice tight. "We have to respect that. He needs to hit rock bottom." But what was rock bottom? I wondered, was it this? A warm house, a full belly, while a piece of your soul was out in the cold. "Mom, dinner's ready." Sarah's voice, bright and strained, cut through my thoughts. She appeared in the doorway, her face flushed from the oven's heat. She was trying so hard to maintain the facade of normalcy, but I saw the shadows under her eyes, the way her smile didn't quite reach them. I forced a smile onto my own face. "It looks wonderful, dear." I took my seat at the table. Mark carved the turkey with solemn precision, as if performing a sacred ritual. Lily and Jake were already on their phones, their thumbs flying across the screens, their presence merely physical. "Let's say what we're thankful for," Sarah suggested, her voice trembling slightly. Mark was thankful for the company's good quarterly earnings. Lily was thankful for her new phone. Jake was thankful for his team making the playoffs. Then, all eyes turned to me. The room grew quiet. The only sound was the crackle of the fireplace and the soft hiss of snow against the window. I looked at their expectant faces, then down at my hands, gnarled with arthritis, the skin thin as parchment. I thought of David's small hand in mine, trusting and warm. "I am thankful," I began, my voice quavering, "for memories. And I am praying, with every fiber of my being, that my grandson is not cold tonight." The silence that followed was heavier than any I had ever known. Lily and Jake looked up from their phones, startled. Mark's jaw tightened. Sarah's face crumpled, and a single tear traced a path through her carefully applied makeup. "Eleanor." "Not now," Mark said, his voice low and warning. But the dam had broken. 78 years of keeping the peace, of biting my tongue, had led to this moment. When, Mark, I asked, my voice gaining a strength that surprised me. When is the right time? When the snow is 6 feet deep? When we get a call from the city morgue? Is that the rock bottom we're waiting for? He chose to leave, Mark snapped, slamming his hand on the table, making the china rattle. He spat on everything we offered him. He was a boy crying out for help. I shot back. He didn't need another critic. He needed his family. He needed to know that his love for music wasn't a failure, but a different kind of language. Sarah began to sob quietly. Stop it, both of you, please. But I couldn't stop. The image of David, huddled in a doorway, his guitar case beside him, was burned into my mind. Do you know what true cold feels like? I asked, my voice dropping to a whisper. It's not just the cold of the body. It's the cold of the spirit. It's the feeling that no one in the world cares if you live or die. And we, sitting here in all this warmth, are letting him feel that cold. We are eating his turkey. We are sitting in his chair. I pushed my chair back, the legs scraping against the hardwood floor. The feast before me, once so appealing, now looked like a grotesque display of our failure. I can't, I whispered. I can't eat this food while my boy is out there. I walked away from the table, away from their stunned faces. I went to the hall closet and put on my oldest, warmest coat, a thick woolen scarf, and my sturdy boots. Mom, where are you going? Sarah cried, rushing after me. It's a blizzard out there. I'm going to find my grandson, I said, my voice firm. If he won't come to our Thanksgiving, then I will bring Thanksgiving to him. Mark stood in the doorway, his face a mask of conflicting fear, and a dawning, horrifying realization. You're being foolish, Eleanor. You'll get lost. You'll get sick. Better to be foolish with love than wise with indifference, I said. And I opened the front door. The cold hit me like a physical blow, stealing my breath. The wind howled, whipping snow into my face. The world was a swirling, white void, but I was driven by a fire that no winter could extinguish. I filled a thermos with hot coffee from the pot in the kitchen, and I wrapped 2 large slices of turkey, a heap of potatoes, and a generous piece of pumpkin pie in aluminum foil. I packed it all into a canvas bag. At least let me drive you, Mark said, his resistance finally crumbling under the weight of my resolve. No, I said, he's afraid of you. He needs to see a face of love, not authority. I stepped out into the storm, the door closing behind me, shutting off the golden light and the sound of my daughter's weeping. The world was reduced to the next step, and the next. I knew the city. I knew the places where the forgotten gathered, the sheltered alcoves of the public library, the warm grates behind the old department store, the 24-hour laundromat. The streets were deserted. My boots crunched on the fresh snow, a lonely sound. The wind tore at my scarf, and the cold seeped through my coat, making my bones ache. I thought of David, who had known 2 years of this. My pain was temporary. His had become his life. I checked the library, steps empty. I peered into the laundromat, just a tired-looking woman, folding clothes. Fear began to gnaw at me. What if I was wrong? What if he wasn't even in this town anymore? Then I remembered the old bandstand in the park. When he was a teenager, he'd go there to practice his guitar, saying the acoustics were perfect. It was a long shot, a memory from a lifetime ago. I trudged through the park, the snow clinging to the bare branches of the trees, creating a ghostly canopy. And then I saw it, a huddled figure on the floor of the bandstand, curled up against the wind, a dusting of snow on his dark jacket. Beside him was a guitar case, covered in faded stickers. My heart stopped. I moved closer, my steps slow and quiet. It was him. His face was thinner, weathered by hardship. But it was my David. He was shivering violently in his sleep, his lips tinged with blue. David, I whispered, my voice cracking. His eyes fluttered open. For a moment, there was only confusion, the haze of a deep and troubled sleep. Then, recognition dawned, followed by a wave of shock and something else, shame. He tried to sit up, to turn away. Grandma, what are you doing here? Go away. I knelt beside him, ignoring the cold seeping through my knees. I unwrapped my scarf and tucked it around his neck. I opened the thermos and poured a capful of steaming coffee. Here, drink this. He stared at me, his eyes wide with disbelief. He took the cap, his trembling hands wrapping around the warmth. He sipped it, and a shudder ran through his whole body. I can't believe you came, he mumbled, unable to meet my gaze. Did you think I wouldn't? I said softly. I unpacked the food. The turkey was still warm. I brought you Thanksgiving Tears welled in his eyes, freezing on his lashes. Why, after everything, after what I said, because I love you, I said, my own tears finally falling, warm against my cold cheeks. That never stopped, not for a single second. He broke then, the tough exterior he'd built over 2 long years shattered. He leaned into me, his head on my shoulder, and sobbed great ragged sobs that spoke of loneliness, regret, and a hunger that was more than physical. I held him, rocking him gently, as I had when he was a little boy with a scraped knee. I'm sorry, Grandma, he choked out. I'm so sorry, I was so stupid. Hush now, I whispered, stroking his matted hair. We all were, but that's over now. We sat there in the cold bandstand, surrounded by the silent, falling snow, and we shared the Thanksgiving meal. He ate ravenously, and with every bite, a little more color returned to his face. He told me fragments of his life, the struggle to find gigs, the nights spent in shelters, the constant, grinding fear. When the food was gone, he looked at me, his eyes clear for the first time. What now? Now, I said, getting to my feet with a grunt. You come home. I can't. Dad, your father, I said with a strength I didn't know I possessed, is waiting for you. And he will welcome you, or he will have to answer to me. I helped him up. He was unsteady on his feet, weakened by cold and hunger. I picked up his guitar case. It felt light, as if it held only dreams now. We walked back through the storm, but the journey felt different. The cold was just cold now, not a metaphor for despair. As we approached the house, the front door flew open. Sarah stood there, her hand flying to her mouth. Mark was behind her, his face pale. They had been waiting. David stopped at the bottom of the porch steps, hesitating. It was Mark who moved first. He walked down the steps, his movements slow and deliberate. He stopped in front of his son. For a long moment, they just looked at each other, the two proud, wounded men of my family. Then, Mark did something I had not seen him do in years. He opened his arms. David stumbled forward into his father's embrace. They held each other tightly, both of them crying. The snow falling around them, washing away the old hurts. We didn't finish the cold turkey that night. We sat by the fire, wrapped in blankets, and David played his guitar. The music was hesitant at first, then it grew stronger, filling the house with a melody more beautiful than any we had heard in a long time. It was a song of loss, and of finding your way home. The snow continued to fall outside, but inside, for the first time in 2 years, we were all finally, truly, warm. The freezing was over. The thaw had begun. Did you like my story? And which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you like the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story. With love and respect.